On Sunday, of course, the football match was pretty darn incredible. It was so tense, went to extra time, went to penalties, and Italy won it. It didn't come home, but families of England players, we're being told, and it's being widely reported, had to run from hundreds of ticketless hooligans who stormed Wembley in the build-up to Sunday's final. And as a result of that, the mob charged through a metal door at entrance G, and family members were left feeling intimidated when they eventually got to their seats and found that some of the intruders were in their seats and wouldn't move. So there was all sorts of chaos. Simon, we're joined this morning. I'm going to call you John, okay, mate? This is a steward who was working at Wembley on Sunday. Maybe it's a total coincidence. Your name might be John, but I don't think it is. So, John, good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you so much for joining us. Simon's with me, and of course, we're live in talkSPORT. You were working there as a steward on Sunday. What did you see, John?
Absolute carnage everywhere. I turned up at 8:30 in the morning, and from 8:30 there was people already intoxicated, severely intoxicated, and we knew it was going to be one of those days, but not as bad as it actually was.
So, not as bad as it was. Now, people are saying, Jim White, you're trying to ramp this up. I'm not trying to ramp it up. I wish we could talk about something else. I'd be more than happy, John, to talk about England having won it on Sunday, but we're not doing that. We're not doing that. We're talking to you this morning. So severely intoxicated people at 8:30. What happened after that?
Say more and more people turned up as the day went on, as you'd expect, obviously, Euro final. I think the capacity was meant to be 60,000. And not long before kickoff, I went into the stadium, the pitch side, just to have a look round. I hadn't actually been in all day, had a look round, and within seconds, I said to myself, there's way more than 60,000 people in here.
Okay. Now, did you witness fans, a minority of them, but nonetheless a sizable group of them, gaining entry illegally without tickets, John?
Oh, yes. Unfortunately, more than one entrance as well. They targeted numerous, and I believe got in numerous entrances throughout the day.
And tell me specifically what you saw. How did they do it? They just a rush at a gate.
Yeah, rush at a gate, pulling doors open. Some even have crowbars, and they just quick yank, snap, and in they go. Once one door's open, you have in between 7 to 12 guys and girls standing behind the door, stewards and other security. And when you've got hundreds plus running at you, you have no chance.
John, I'm assuming that you've been a steward at many matches before with England.
Yep. I've done 2 Champions League finals and Olympics.
Okay,
and so thousands of games, and never. Yeah,
specifically
like
international matches for England. When we talk about the resource level that was deployed, put aside the unacceptable behaviour, because we don't need to find a reason for that behaviour. We need to find a way to be able to counteract antisocial behaviour. As a steward that was on duty on that day, do you think that the resource levels were comparable with a crowd of, say, 90,000 rather than 60, do you get the impression that the coordination and organisation of the event, because you'd have been briefed before it, you'd have had the safety meetings and been part of the briefings that would have gone on, not so much the safety meetings, but the briefings as stewards, do you get the impression that the resource level that was deployed was sufficient enough to be able to deal with any kind of challenge, given that everybody in their right mind knew that the country had been called to arms by the media? Everyone was up on their feet about this wonderful game. The country was going to be able to see England winning a tournament. So there was always going to be a lot of people hanging around that particular environment, as there would be in any country. Do you get the impression there was enough resource to support you in the job that you were being asked to do?
Yeah, I think that the actual resources was more than enough than a normal game. I say a normal game. I know it wasn't a normal game. Yeah, I think it was more than enough. We just the numbers turned up. Obviously, no one's expecting that many numbers turning up and piling through. I honestly think that there was only a really small minority that thought, right, let's have a turn, trying to smash through the doors, and then obviously people just joined in and. Yeah.
So when you say carnage, right, because I want to get context and balance, right, and not downplay something or overplay it. On one hand, we're saying carnage because a lot of people are drunk and then revelling in the situation outside the stadium. And then we've got the other side of the argument, which is people busting into the stadium and behaving in a despicable manner. And that becomes narrative that you say that was a small amount of people. Because I'm trying to get context in this conversation, because we can't eliminate the fact that the country's behaving in a certain way because of this unique event all around the capital. But we can then focus on the fact that they're breaking into stadiums. When you say a small amount, are we talking hundreds of people? Because there's an element of people saying that it's 100 people, a couple of hundred people. Some people are saying it was a stampede. You were there. What are we talking about, John?
I would say thousands, to be honest. Like I said, when I went into the stadium, there was more than just a couple of hundred extra seats. I'm talking, it looked nearly sold out. I mean, I've done plenty of events from 85,000 to a couple of thousand, and there was, I would say, in excess of 70,000+ inside.
Gee, makes it even more frightening. So, John, what happened on the other side of the gate then? When they charged in, did you see other stewards try to intercept them?
Yeah, they did, but say completely outnumbered. There was a few trying to trip people up on the way down, but they trip them up, they fall on the floor, they get up and they run back in again. I mean, completely outnumbered. Some were being stampeded, and one was on the floor for a long time and had, well, in excess of 100 odd people trample over him. From what I saw on a video, luckily I wasn't at that gate.
What about policing, John? I mean, stewards, I read something in the papers, and it's right for these people to say this, but I'm not going to get involved with an angry mob for £8.90 an hour, right? Where were the police in this? What are the policing levels like? Because these are the guys that have the authority to detain and arrest and exact a certain amount of professional training to be able to do it. Where were the police alongside you? Because I'm perplexed to understand how a system breaks down with 10 or 15,000 people that can get into. We're not talking about a few hundred now. We're talking about 10,000 people got into a stadium without tickets, and that's a jaw-dropping failure of event management. How can 10,000 people, 15% more people got in the stadium than were allowed to be in there? So going back to the original question I made in this long little soliloquy, what was the policing like alongside you in terms of your experiences in the past?
To be honest, there was a lot more police than normal events, but without being disrespectful to them, they do a great job usually. They were very, very late breaking up the situations.
It seems to be. I mean, Stephen in London is saying, where were the police? Why didn't they arrest the trespassers on the spot and then ban them from attending matches? If only it was that simple. John, did you see any of the scenes involving players' seats, family members' seats? I mentioned earlier that Mancini's son Andrea had a seat for the game, went over to someone who was in it, so he had to move elsewhere. I mean, did you see any family members who were left with nowhere to go? Because this has been reported this morning.
No, I didn't see actually any specific family members. Like you say, I know what blocks they were in and where they were, but I wasn't in that specific area. No.
How scary was it on Sunday, John?
Yeah, I mean, it was getting to the point of, it wasn't nice. No, it was supposed to be a great day for the country and everyone coming together, and then as usual in this country, the minority ruin it for the majority.
I mean, to be quite honest, some people will say, well, where were the stewards? What were the stewards doing? By the sounds of it, you guys did your level best, but it was just the numbers that proved to be too overwhelming. Can you do this for me, John? How much does a steward earn on the likes of Sunday?
Well, there's a lot of different companies on the event days, so I couldn't tell. But I think what Simon said earlier was in and around. You're looking at between £9.50 to £10 an hour.
So at the end of the day, what do you pocket?
What was mine? I was a little bit higher than that, so I had a little bit more of a VIP role, but I still had to get involved with the nightmares outside.
Are you considering doing this again, John? Is this what you do for a living?
Yep. What I do for a living. So I'll be back.
All right, mate. Listen, we really appreciate you joining us this morning. John was a steward at Wembley on Sunday and trying to give us some kind of a picture. It seems, Simon,
Jim, before we go to break,
this was a lot worse than we actually.
But perhaps
there's another message coming in. He's right. The people without tickets were in their thousands.
Okay, can I be like,
we got to the ground at 6 p.m, and there were thousands without tickets.
Before we go to break, did you think that there was a possibility that there were going to be lots and lots and thousands of people outside and milling around the Wembley Stadium area? Because I did.
Yes. Yeah.
So what I'm trying to work out is if we thought that,
Yeah.
why there was such a surprise, it seems, that there were tens of thousands of people milling around Wembley Stadium, as there often is when events like this happen, when you're locked out of a stadium, because we've seen it around the world.
Yeah, but I don't think they mill around, but I don't think anybody in their right mind expected a section of them to storm a gate.
No, but if you're saying that 10,000 people got into a stadium without tickets, there's an abject system failure. This isn't just about hooliganism.
Absolutely.
This is about
and there's one of many messages saying it's not hard to control these fans. Don't let them on Wembley Way without a valid ticket. If you have a valid ticket, go and stand all day on Wembley Way, because you're going to get in legally. But there were many in Wembley Way who clearly hung around and waited for their moment.
So now we make a rational argument, which is basically the abject failure of the event preparation needs to be heavily scrutinised. Then we make a case for saying, can we house these events? Because if 15,000 or 10,000 people got in a stadium without a ticket, what the hell is going on with UEFA, Wembley, the police and the stewards?
And that's why we're wondering, would they be up to hosting the 2030
Well, that's a different way of framing it, because that's a legitimate way of framing it.
Yeah. Stay with us.
Jim White and Simon Jordan. Monday to Thursday morning, 10 till 1. On AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.